Okay, look, I'm going to explain this whole Richard Fine thing to you, all right? Let me have my glasses. There you go, thank you. Okay, now, this is what happened. Last week when I was at the Free Richard Fine rally, I heard a lot of confusion about the details of the story. The story is so large that you can never really get a complete understanding of it with a really lot of serious study. But for a basic understanding, here's a brief recap of the sequence of events as I understand them. The Marina Strand Colony and Marina Strand Colony 2 Homeowners Association didn't want a big housing development right on top of their artsy home-style beach community. Understand? The Environmental Impact Report also said, no way, don't do this. The Epsteins, the developers, wanted to build a monstrosity anyway, so they donated a big bag of money to some county supervisors. The supervisors voted to disregard the Environmental Impact Report. The Homeowners Association hired Richard Fine. Richard ran into inexplicable problems and smelled a rat. Richard began to lose slam dunk cases one after the other. He also discovered, that's when he discovered the illegal payments to the judges. Richard asked the judges to recuse themselves because of a conflict of interest. Richard continues to act on behalf of his clients at the beach community, but soon is told that he's disbarred. Okay, even though there were no disbarment hearings, at least not any that he was involved in. Unable to serve his clients, he investigates to find out why, and discovers that virtually every judge in LA County has been getting illegal payments from the County Board of Supervisors since 1988. All right? The amount has surpassed $300 million at this point. At this point, the 430 LA judges and commissioners are receiving $57,000 a year in an undeclared cash money. Are you getting this? I'm telling them, but you pay attention too. Last year, they got $46,000. This year, they were increased to $57,000. This explained how it come in the... What? This explained to Fine how come in the last 4 years the county hasn't lost one case that was decided by a Superior Court judge. At this time, Chief Justice George writes a letter to the California Judges Association stating that what the judges are doing is illegal. Taking money from the county is illegal. The Attorney General, Jerry Moonbeam Brown, you know who that is, he launches an investigation, but just as quickly, Jerry Brown halts the investigation and sets his eyes on the governor's mansion. Wants to be the governor now, even though he doesn't investigate this. Okay, I guess he knows not to bite the hand that feeds him. Fine is a real lawyer, probably the last one with enough chutzpah to sue the judges for taking bribes. Judicial Watch, a group of real patriotic lawyers, notices and hit them with a case, Sturgeon versus Los Angeles. Judicial Watch wins the case. The judges are guilty, right? Guilty of taking the bribes. Like all good lawyers, the judges don't take their medicine. They file an appeal. They lose the appeal. Guilty again. The judges are guilty again. Well, that pissed them off, and you know nothing's worse than a judge fit, right? They have a little judge tantrum. Okay, they decide to get mean. They charge Fine with moral turpitude for being right in court. They don't want you to be right in court. They want you to acquiesce. Okay? It's a dangerous precedent to be right in court. Always remember that. Okay? So who would they get to be the perpetrator of this joke against Fine? They needed someone who was disposable, because ultimately the perpetrator of this fraud would be held accountable and this jackass move would end his career. Enter David P. Yaffe, a surly old geezer who at 75 would be able to take the fall and resign when the sauce hit the spaghetti. You know what I mean? Yaffe was not only the judge, but actually testified in the case against Fine and then acted as the judge. What? Right, exactly. Okay, Yaffe had 9 big tough deputies escort the 170-pound, 5'9", 69-year-old Mr. Fine off to what some people call the worst jail in America, LA Men's Central Jail. #1 on the bad list, right? Okay, remember, don't tell the truth in court. Fine laughed inside, and he laughed outside too, because he knew that he could do the 5-day sentence without even a blink. Okay, judges realized they were caught dead to rights. They were in a lot of trouble. So they went to Sacramento for help. They went for protection. No problem. They concocted and passed a bill called Senate Bill SBX 211. In 9 days, they got it through the Senate, the Assembly, and had the governor sign it. And they did this as part of a financial bill during the financial crisis. Okay? It gave the judges immunity from all the crimes of the past, both civil and liability, so both criminal and civil, okay, and to everybody else involved. They all got this immunity. The judges think this is a license to continue to commit the crimes in court and to continue to take the bribe money. How sweet is that? Okay? Anyway, they actually acknowledged their crime and just flipped LA the bird. Just like that. Fine wanted to go right to work on his release documents to expose Yaffe and all this, but guess what? He was denied paper and pencil, he was denied a lawyer. After doing what he thought was going to be a 5-day coercive confinement thing, which is what it is, after doing that about 4 times, they finally took him off of this ridiculous, unwarranted suicide watch, and he started to make contact with the outside world. Friends who knew started to visit Fine, and it didn't take long for us to get paper and pencil to him so he could begin to defend himself from his solitary confinement. Months and months of decent citizens filing motions and writs were met with months and months of complete indifference by a conspiracy of judges at every level, from the county to the federal level, the state appellate, the state Supreme Court, the federal Ninth Circuit Appellate Court, and finally all the way to the Supreme Court. Everybody is scared to let this guy out of jail. 208,000 lawyers in California are afraid to stand behind this guy or behind him or beside him or anything like that, okay? You see, Richard Fine is right. He's right about what he's saying. And you know that doesn't fly in court, right? You can't do that. Okay, there are probably a few good lawyers out there somewhere, but they're trying to hide under the radar of the Bar Association so that they don't get disbarred because, you know, it's a terrible threat. Okay, we couldn't estimate how many felonies were committed by these judges since 1988, so we got a retired university professor, Daniel Gottlieb, to work on that, and he conservatively estimated 10 million felonies, okay, since 1998. I'm sorry, since 1988. I know what you're asking. Where's the mainstream media in all this story? Are they intimidated as the lawyers are? Either bribed off or scared off. That's what they are. I mean, we all know the media is, you know, a bunch of government lackeys, stooges for the government now, right? One reporter actually admitted to, look at me. One reporter actually admitted to me that there's a news blackout on this story. Thank God we had Leslie Dutton all along. Leslie Dutton is an independent investigative journalist who's not intimidated by these people. She and her associate, T.J. Johnston, have followed this story and covered this story since the very beginning on their independent full disclosure network. They're the only real coverage on this case. There have been a few good letters in the Daily News, writings, articles by Troy Anderson. He's doing the best he can. There's been ridiculous puff pieces defending the judges in this whole thing in the LA Times. And recently, very recently, a few independent writers have written really good pieces that have showed up in alternative media sources. So we're pretty proud of them. Okay. Other concerned citizens have contacted every imaginable person in politics, law enforcement, TV, talk radio, other civil rights groups. I myself went to the NAACP. Really nice people, didn't do spit. Okay, now we thought Richard is Jewish and very Jewish at that, right? So we contacted every rabbinical organization, every synagogue we could find in LA. From them, we got a solid oy vey. You have to go all the way to Israel now to get a mensch anymore. At least they got Benjamin Netanyahu over there. He's doing a good job. Okay, so where the heck is the ACLU, right? You know, the jailhouse watchdog group? Well, believe it or not, it's my understanding that the ACLU partially is funded by the jail. Can that be true? And in addition to that, the LA chapter president of the ACLU has now announced a resignation. At least that's my understanding. Okay? So what are we left with? We have a man with no criminal charges against him, no bail, no hearing date, no lawyer, no access to a law library, no sentence. Basically, he's in solitary confinement, Banana Republic style, where the plan is basically for him to die of old age sometime within the next 20 years. But that's not all we're left with. The Epsteins, they get to go ahead and build the marina into another Miami Beach. Yeah, screw those homeowners, you got it. And the supervisors, they keep getting their building permit bribes rolling in, right? Screw the environmental impact report and the animals and the birds and whatever, you know. Screw that beach community. And the judges, they get to keep taking their illegal payments, right? Screw the taxpayers and screw those, you know, right now, they're closing courts and they're laying off court employees. These judges got a bribe increase from $46,000 to $50,000 this year alone. Okay, and last but not least, screw those taxpayers who fund all this, and screw them when they go to court looking for an uncorrupted judge. That's right, screw you. Who do you think you are anyway? A judge? Where's my glasses?